Divine Encounters. I am your hostess, the Oracle of Apollo, Dominique Rivera, and today is a supernatural story time. Every single Wednesday at 6 p.m., I am introducing a new supernatural story time for you to inspire you, to allow you to feel supported. And if you love this kind of content where you're walking away feeling motivated or inspired, make sure you like and subscribe this channel because I am live streaming every single Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time and every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with all of your horoscopes. So, thank you everyone so much for being here. I'm looking forward to sharing my story here in South Carolina. So, I hope you buckle in, get the water, get the kids, and let's go ahead and have a divine experience together.
It's paradise inside of our hearts, and it feels so nice to pray in the dark. Beings of light, see who you are. 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 See who you
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm your hostess, Dominique Rivera, the Oracle of Apollo, Oracle for short. And I am a multi-dimensional trans medium, which basically means I can connect to your ancestors, crossover loved ones, and all types of plethora of otherworldly entities. I'm a master teacher for Reiki and integrated energy therapy, and of course, a spiritual advisor. If you want to work with me, get a reading from me, want to book me for a private or public event, you can check me out at oracleofapollo.com. I am just coming back from 3 states. I just finished coming from Ithaca, New York, South Carolina, and Michigan. Was my first time visiting Michigan for the Pyro Equinox Music and Art Festival. It was amazing. I saw some of you guys there. There was live concerts throughout the entire event, and the weather was so beautiful. I was very excited to be there. And some very interesting things happened while I was there, and maybe I'll get to share that with you guys. And if you've never seen this show before, thanks for being here. This is about bringing content to you that feels good to the soul, helps you expand, recognizes to help you recognize that you are not alone in the world, okay? And this tan freshly brought to you by the sun. If you have a divine experience which you want to share here on this platform in front of our audience, go ahead and email me at divineencounters at e360tvlive.com. www.theangellove.com. I like to start off every episode with what is good in the energies of the world. And today is no different. We're going to do um, what I like to call the angel numbers for the week. An angel number is a number in which you can see more than one time, see one individual time that brings a lot of focus and impact into your day. And they tend to have a message for you. So let's see for the collective what the angel number is today. And to that I say, what's good? All right, it is Wednesday night, and the angel number for this week is 643. 643. So let's take a look here at the 643 angel number. So this is a combination of the energies of the number 6, the number 4, and the vibrations of the number 3. So number 6 resonates with love of home and family, and domesticity, service to others, and selflessness, responsibility and reliability, providing for the self and others. Number 6 also relates to the personal willpower centers, independence, initiative, action, overcoming obstacles, problem solving, and solution finding. Number 4 relates to working steadily towards goals and aspirations, practicality and patience, system and order, self initiation, building solid foundations, enthusiasm coupled by determination. And number 4 resonates with the energies of the archangels. Number 3 relates to optimism and enthusiasm, self expression, manifestation and growth, and the ascended masters. So here's the message for Angel 643 today. This message from the angels and ascended masters and archangels, they have heard your prayers and are with you, supporting and guiding and assisting you in whatever you may ask. They ask you to maintain faith and belief in the infinite abundance of the universe and trust that your material needs will be provided for and throughout your life. The great work you have done in the past paved the way for abundance today and tomorrow. Give any fears and worries to the angels for transmutation and healing and trust and benevolence in the universe. Number 643 tells you that diligence and determination you have shown in regards to providing for your family wants and needs has manifested in your attraction of the well earned rewards and your goals and desires to come into fruition. The work and effort you have put towards serving your life purpose has been acknowledged by the angels and the universal energies, so be open to receiving and accepting your good. And know that you are being assisted and guided by the angels. So listen to your intuition as you are receiving directions to what next steps to take. Release any fears or loss or lack of trust that may surround any material issues, because these will be sorted out for your highest and greatest good. And you will have all that you need when you need it. Focus upon your life's purpose, which involves bringing joy, love, and peace to your personal will, and which allows passion, enthusiasm, and joy that is made inside for you to be expressed in a way that you have chosen to fulfill your soul's mission. Keep a positive and optimistic attitude and outlook, and be grateful and appreciative for all that you have and all that you are yet to receive. Angel number 643 tells you that your excellent work has manifested a continued supply of abundance into your life. Given any fears and concerns, the heavens have faith that the archangels and angels and ascended masters are working behind the scenes to ensure that you will always have enough to sustain you. And any obstacles will easily be overcome. Everything you need comes to you in the perfect time, space, and sequence. Establish a balance in all areas of your life and use your unique creative energies in positive and productive ways. So that is the angel number. Hello, Mr. Robert. That is the angel number for today. So let me know in the comment section below if that resonated with you. For me, that was about bringing balance into life. I know today, I know today for me, I am recovering, resting from these many states that I have just come across and there was a lot of balance and synchronicity that was created. Also, let me know at home if this has happened to you guys. Have you taken a long trip in car and have gotten swollen in your face, your hands, and your feet? I know by last night I had no ankles at all. I literally had like calf feet, and there was just like one swollen my legs were just like swollen, and I got home and mom's like, "Oh my god, your face is so swollen." I gave myself like a massage today to try to combat that, and I'm wearing very little makeup. I just have this little sparkle and some blush on. So that's it. I'm just leaving my skin as it is today. So yeah. I think maybe for the next one, since this is just the beginning for me for learning how to go far distances in the car, is probably to wear compression socks, is probably what I learned from this trip. And Robert says it did resonate with him. All right. So thank you so much for that. So we're going to be jumping in now to what I call a mindfulness moment. And this is a tool you can take home from this show, which allows you to tap into yourself, recognize where you are at in this moment, and then on the daily, making sure that you're using this technique to just kind of tap in and say, "Hey, how are you?" So I'm going to ask you guys, seekers, to let me know where are you at in this moment from 1 to 10. 1 being this is the least amount of energy that I can have, 10 the most amount of energy that I could have, and drop that in the comment section below. I see you, Robert was saying that that would happen to him when he sat at the computer for a long time. And considering eventually I never laid down because I was at a festivals, I actually just slept in the car. So, you know, you're like this way. So I never got to lay flat. So I'm sure that kind of that had to contribute to a degree, never laying down. So my number right now, I feel I'm at a 6 right now. I'm a little bit tired since I got back home last night from my trip, and it took me 2 days of driving to get back to Pennsylvania from Michigan. So where are you guys at right now in this moment? We're going to be jumping into our supernatural story time in just a minute. Let me know in that comment section below. Hello, Judith. Nice to see your name on the screen. She is at a 7. So let's go ahead now, and you're going to hear a bell, and I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes for 60 seconds. And Robert is at an 8, which is amazing. All right, so let's jump in. You're going to hear this bell. We're all going to close our eyes, and we're going to breathe in collectively into the moment. All right, 60 seconds is on the clock now. Taking a breath in and just noticing where you are at in your body. Noticing where you might be holding any tension. Breathe into that tension and let it go. Noticing the need of your body. Does it want to shift? Does it want to move? Where are you at in this moment? And lovingly give that to yourself. One more breath in, breathing in that gratitude. Let it go. Beautiful. An invitation now to open back your eyes and coming back to the here and now moment. All right, beautiful. Welcome back. Honor, if you need to drink some water, I know I will. All right. And I'm noticing here that my internet is sporadic as it is. I'm not sure if it's ever going to subside considering where I am. And welcome to Sunday night. I am your host, but also I am your storyteller for the evening, Dominique Rivera. And every week I bring you a supernatural experience in which we feel like the divine has assisted us, helped us, transformed us in any way. And today is no different. Today I'm going to be sharing my story with you of being in South Carolina 2 weeks ago alone and my near death experience when I came so very close to drowning. So, let's jump into our story. I hope that this story serves you to some extent, and let's get it. All right. So, if you've been following my trips, you've noticed that I went from New York Ithaca Festival, the Spiritual Women's Kindred gathering, and I was making my way towards Michigan. But I stopped in South Carolina because my stepson graduated from the Marines. So kudos to him. That was a very lovely ceremony. So it had taken me over 20 hours to get from Ithaca to South Carolina. And that is because my ex-partner, which is my stepson's father, gave me the wrong dates for the event. And so when I thought I had 2 extra days, I now had no extra days. And so I had no regular normal people clothing because if you've ever been to a music festival that is on a remote that is in a remote place, you know that the clothing choice is very sparse. And it was an all women's festival, and so I showed up full feral woman. So those clothings were not appropriate. So I had to drive from Ithaca back to Pennsylvania to get appropriate clothes to get onto the military base. So when I finally got to the hotel in South Carolina, I had messaged everyone where they were, and my ex partner was with his baby mom at the beach. But by the time I actually started to go to the beach, they started to leave the beach. So they no longer were at the beach. And the day was so beautiful. And I knew that the following day was going to be filled with activities with my stepson and that he couldn't get off base. I wanted to go experience the beach. I was very tired. However, I also didn't want to stay in the hotel room the rest of the night. I wasn't sleepy. I was just tired of driving and being in the car. Either way, I drove the extra 30 minutes to the beach. I don't know the name of the beach. Um, but it was in South Carolina. And when I drove to get into the beach, I thought it was going to be like, I don't know. This was weird. Not normal for the beaches I've been to. Normally you just drive up to the beach and you park somewhere. There's big parking lot and you walk to the shore. But here is what I had to drive through, and I felt like it was maybe like 2 miles long. It was beautiful, but it was very long to get to the beach. No beach in sight, just palm trees. It felt very safari-ish. If you know where this beach is at, let me know in the comment section below because I have no idea. So now I have to go back a little bit because there's some things that I've learned that I need to share here because it might serve you. So, you guys know I have been traveling for the last 2.5 years extensively. And last summer, I spent spring, summer, and part of fall in the Appalachian Mountains. However, I drove across from here to Colorado. I was in the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina, and I was invited to go to an event, a yoga event in Colorado, which I took. Now, while I was there was a beautiful ceremony in which I cannot show footage of. I have, but I cannot show footage of because it is not something that you can film and share It's sacred. So I filmed it for myself, knowing that it would just be for my eyes. So unfortunately, I can't share. However, in this event, there were some elders from, oh man, what tribe was it? I do not remember the tribe's name that came to this event to teach us, but there were some elders there. They were Mayan elders. I couldn't even tell you the name of the exact tribe, but they were Mayan elders, and they were from a part of Mexico that was so remote that you're not even allowed to visit. There's no outside influence of this place in Mexico. Their original language is still intact, and their secondary language is Spanish. So they held several ceremonies at this event in Colorado. I want to say I may have been in Boulder, Colorado. I am not 1,000% sure, and I can't even tell you the name of the festival. Just go to so many. I need to start writing them down. So while I'm there, this beautiful Mayan woman elder, she starts to set up an ofrenda, an altar. And I was excited to hear that she was going to do this. So I eagerly went to where she was outside in front of this big fire pit that the fire was not on yet. And she started to place hundreds of flowers into this fire pit. And she's telling me about her dad. And before her dad passed away, she was saying, this is such a small altar. And I'm looking at it like, this is a huge altar. There was hundreds of flowers. The fire pit itself was huge. And to me, the spectator, the witness, this was a big altar. I had never seen one this big. She starts to tells us, because there was other people there, that the altars back home were thousands of flowers for the altar. And she's putting these cups of copal. Copal is a type of incense and really smells so beautiful and is great for spiritual working, energy work, and ancestral work, etc. And the cakes are like this, right? They look like bundt cakes, little bundt cakes. And she's stacking them. And I'm telling you, when I'm telling you she is stacking them, there's hundreds of these little cakes. I'm getting touched all over as I'm telling you this story. There's hundreds of these little cakes stacked inside of this, what would soon be a fire. So while I'm witnessing this, and the smell is so fragrant and so beautiful, she starts to explain to us what's the process going to be like. She starts to explain that she's making this offering because once it's lit, the smell goes up to the heavens, and the smell goes up to the ancestors, and the ancestors receive this gift. And as she's placing them, she's saying, thank you, gratitude, accept this humble gift that I'm bestowing here of just scent. I know it's not much. And but the way she was saying it was in Spanish. Like, I know it's not much, but please receive it. But the wording, I don't remember exact wording verbatim, but the wording had so much weight. The wording had so much weight to it. There was so much humbleness, so much grace to it. Like, I know it's not much, but take it, this humble offering. So she's explaining that she's going to light these tobacco. She has these cigars that she wrapped herself with the tobacco from her land, with the leaves from her land. And this is what she's doing. Okay. And these cigars are big, thick cigars. And she's explaining to us, you all are going to hold this cigar and you're going to put prayers into the cigar, into the tobacco, which this was something I was accustomed to already. When I do ceremonies, I will have my person pray into the tobacco that we're using. And then the tobacco smoke, I blow it all onto the person. So I've seen this before. I don't use a cigar. I use a pipe. But this is what she was using. And so she lights the fire. And she starts to explain that the fire speaks to us. That when the fire goes out, is because it's asking for more incense for the ancestors, which I thought was amazing. So at some point, it is so windy that the fire goes out. So she starts loading up flowers and roses and kopot. What was that? I just saw something fly up. I know. I'm gonna watch that back on the replay. There was definitely something that just kind of flew up here. So while she's in this space, I'm just gonna move this down so I can sit a little lower. So while she's in this space and I'm just witnessing this smell, I'm like, there's no way that fire is gonna turn back on by adding more incense, because the incense is going to create smoke and it's gonna just keep the fire out. No, the incense did not keep the fire out. At some point, the fire lit again. So now she's passing these cigars around. There's one more elder there with her. And she asks him, what cigar do you want? And he takes a smaller cigar. She had this real big cigar. And then she calls him lazy for taking the smaller cigar because she was smoking it. She was like sheathing the cigar until it was at the end. And then she'd place it into the fire. Everything she put back into the fire was placed. There was, even if the fire was roaring, it wasn't that she was throwing anything. Everything was placed, given. The same way you would give or hand something to someone you love. So now, here's the part of the cleansing. This is all leading back to my drowning in Carolina. But you have to understand the beginning part of the story and how it ties in. Okay. So she looks at me and she's looking around the circle and she has these eggs. And she looks at me and she says, you're taking one of these, the eggs. They're not hard boiled or anything. They're just eggs. Then she explains, if you feel like you need a really deep cleansing, take an egg. I knew I needed a deep cleansing because I was going through heartbreak at the time when I had just left a few months before because my partner had an affair and I was going through it. And so I decided I needed healing. But before I could ask for one, she took me and picked me. So I'm like, of course, that makes, all the sense in the world. What I didn't know was she was picking me for different reasons than I wanted to be chosen. So she's like, she passes around a cigar. She's walking around with a cigar. She blows all the smoke all over. I mean, a thick coverage of smoke all over my body. And then tells us to take the egg and rub the egg all over my body. And mind you, this is a Mayan religion or ancestry. So I'm taking the egg and I'm rubbing it everywhere. I'm like, I'm rubbing. She's like, if you have any pain, rub the egg there. So I rub that egg everywhere, under my feet, my belly button, all my crevices. I do it like a bar of soap because whatever I have on me, I don't want it. I want the full healing. This is the first time I am with an elder who has given me a cleansing like this. And I was like in reverence. I was like, thank you for showing. Thank you for doing. Thank you for traveling from a remote place in Mexico no one can visit and come out and do this for people, right? So when I give her the egg, she takes it and she places it into the fire. This woman's superhuman with heat, I'm telling you. And I'm watching the egg and she's just talking and praying and everything. And there's other people's eggs in the fire now. Everyone, there's like 12 eggs in that fire, maybe more. But my egg explodes. Like it literally exploded. It like, pa! And it made it like a gunshot sound explosion. She looks at it in the fire and she just looks at me. And she says, the water spirit wants your soul. What happened to you when you were little? The water spirit wants my soul. What the heck? And immediately I said, I drowned when I was little and I almost near drowned many times. And I said, but when I was a few months old, I was caught upside down in a kiddie pool and I was drowning. And she said, that's because the water spirit wants your soul. I never asked, why would a spirit want your soul? But I did ask, what is the measure for healing? And she says, it's already done. She shows the egg. She says, it's already done. And I was like, okay, and she answered, when we're I did ask, why does that happen? And she says, when we have a trauma with an element, the element keeps a facet of your spirit. I understood this to be true because of the type of work that I do. I just never knew that an element can take a facet of a spirit of a person. But the elements are alive. They're neutral, but they're alive, and they also need energy. And they create synergy when they have multiple facets. Okay. Now, let's fast forward to a very few short weeks right before I started that trip to Ithaca, Carolina, and Michigan. This was after coming back from Romania, well, the 6 countries I did from Europe, after and before going on these couple of stateside road trip. While I was with my friend Igor, the Love Alchemist, if you haven't checked him out, is Igor Gablivov. He posts everyday motivational content and alchemy. And he's also here, and I think he's been on every single season since I've had Divine Encounters. So I went over to speak with him, and we were doing soul retrieval. So we're out on his outside patio, and we're just meditating together. And I've had a discovery, which actually jarred me. It scared me a little bit because it's, even though I've been doing soul retrieval for 10 years, this was different. This felt different to me. And what I saw was my soul coming in as it does. But then what happened was something dropped. It was like something dropped out of the sky and into my lap. And that was me. I dropped out of the sky and into my own lap. But the me that fell out of the sky was a me that was dead. She was drowned. She was blue. I saw myself drowned, blue. And the visual was so strong. It was like if it was happening in real time. And it scared me. And in that space, I just remember like smacking that version of myself to like wake up. And then I started giving myself CPR in that space. And I told my friend about it, and he said, wow, you were imagining a lot of things, but that's not the way I took it, because we're working in 2 different respects of methodologies. But what confused me was I thought I healed this part of myself with the Mayan elder at the fire. Why is it that there is another facet of myself that is drowned, that was not integrated? Okay, so I continued my work and I finished integrating and healing that part of me that had drowned. Oh, so now fast forward. Now it's a few weeks later. I'm back in the beginning of our story in South Carolina at the beach. And the elements are very powerful. So this is my first time being in the water. And since I got home, I was in Greece in the beach, but not for very long. And the water was very, very calm. But so I'm alone. Labor Day's passed. There's no one on the beach. There was one man kind of like in his little tent thing, but he had already packed up. There was no lifeguard. The sun was still out and it was like an 80-degree day. And the water was fine. It was warm. It was nice. So I decided to play my flute as an offering and give some tobacco as an offering and basically pray to the water, pray to the ocean spirit. I had just recently came from a fire festival. And so at the fire festival, which was the Phoenix energy, this was a transmutative time. And I had asked and prayed for exactly to the water element, excuse me, to basically kill everything I was so that I could surrender. So that way I can become who I'm meant to be. I was so willing to die so that I can become who I was going to become. And those words were catalyst to what would be unfolding into the fight for my life. So here's a clip of the ocean right before I got in the water and musically giving my offering with my prayer flute. So we can see here that the water is a little aggressive. The water is a little aggressive in that clip. And looking back at it now, yeah, it was a little aggressive. in the moment, it was inviting. In the retrospect, it was a little aggressive. Okay, so now I put my flute down, and maybe my blanket is like 60 feet away from the water. Like I'm pretty far away from the water edge. And I started to walk over to the ocean and started to walk in, and I'm praying. I hear my twin flame in my head saying, "Hey, Oracle, this is dangerous today." And this was my rebuttal to that thought of him and his voice speaking to me. And I said, "No, the water's playful. It's not malevolent. The ocean is not malevolent." And this was just a thought. This was like a telepathic thought. So the water's probably like, I don't know, knee high, thigh high, right? So what winds up happening is just in a very quick moment, I'm just there, like body surfing, coming back towards the shore. And what happened was the water just started coming in. The water started coming in, the tide was coming in, and rip tides got very strong. Now, mind you, it had not been raining that day, but by even viewing this clip of the ocean, you can kind of see like the water's dark, the water's a little murky here. So all of a sudden, and I really mean like all of a sudden, it was like I was above the water on the wave, body surfing. And then a riptide came in, and all of a sudden, that riptide pulled me down and backward. So instead of going towards the shore on the wave, I'm being pulled down and backward. So what winds up happening is now I'm stuck. I'm stuck in like a tundra of water, like in the washer machine. So there's no way to get out of this tundra of water. Now, I want to say, for those of you at home, I have been around the water my whole life. I grew up grew up in the Caribbeans, so in Puerto Rico, and I grew up with the river literally as my backyard. The river was my backyard. I have spent a lot of time in the water. I understand when there's hurricanes. If you're looking in the distance, what we're looking for when not to go into the water. I feel I am a strong swimmer as well. But the current was so strong that it just kept cycling me through and it wouldn't let me up for breath. Because I grew up this way, I can hold my breath for maybe around a minute and a half. I used to be able to do it for two, but it's been a long time that I've practiced. So I would say safely, maybe I could hold my breath a minute and a half, which is long for some people. However, while I was trying to get out, I started trying to swim out. I tried to swim sideways and it would just the force of the ocean was so strong, it just kept pulling me down to the bottom of the ocean. And so in my mind, I'm trying to reason everything that I could in order to not drown. I am stuck, and I'm recognizing I'm stuck. The time is ticking. My breath is getting to the point where I need to get a breath in a moment. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna swim underneath of the riptide. So I try to find the bottom of the riptide to swim under it to get out through it. Because at times you can swim under and go around. And I couldn't. And I couldn't. It just kept pulling me back into this circle. So now at this point, I'm underwater for more than a minute. Easy. Easy more than a minute. So I am spinning, and I catch a breath. And as I catch that breath, I think I'm about to just get out of the water. So I try to get back on top of the wave, but it just pulled me right back down to the bottom of the ocean. And now I'm underwater another minute and some change. And this point, I start to panic because now I have been underwater for several times for more than a minute at a time. And I feel like the whole situation probably took about 7 minutes. But in those 7 minutes, I'm swimming for my life. I am swimming so hard that I am exhausting myself. I'm exhausting my body trying to fight a current that won't let me go. So I start to panic. I know my body starts to panic because now I'm underwater, and I'm thinking the third time I'm underwater, I'm probably there closer to 2 minutes. Okay, because at this point now I'm swallowing water. That means I've let go of my air, and now I'm swallowing water. And mind you, comfortably I could hold my breath for a minute and a half, but I have been known to hold my breath for 2 minutes or longer. So, I'm panicking. I know it's setting in because I feel fear in my body, and my hands are now starting, instead of swimming, for some reason my hands closed, and I'm punching water and I'm kicking water. For some reason, last year I got into this I started digging in. I went down a rabbit hole of people drowning on YouTube. I don't know why, but I did. And I just remember just watching video after video after video, wondering why they were kicking, why they were punching the water. And it would tell you while you're in panic mode that you stop swimming, you start fighting. You're actually fighting. Your body is fighting. So I'm fighting the water. And I heard my logical aspect of my mind say to me in my voice, "You're panicking. Stop panicking." And in that moment, I realized, okay, I have my fists balled up and my hands and my feet are kicking the water. Then I heard a second voice that was very calm. This voice was so very calm. And I actually feel emotion coming up as I'm sharing this story with you guys because it was very scary. And it said, surrender. Stop fighting. Surrender. Stop swimming. So to hear, and I'm still being slammed, okay? At this moment, I'm still in the tumbler. I'm still in the washer machine tumbler being slammed over and over and over by the waves. Can't get out. Underwater for a few times now, longer than a minute. At this point, I'm swallowing water. There's no more breath in my lungs. And I hear this statement. In that moment that felt like an eternity, I felt no resistance. Although when I came out in retrospect, my logic said, how interesting to stop when you were fighting for your life. How interesting to just give up. I tried to scream for help. However, because I had exhausted now all of my muscles. However, there was no one on the beach. And when you are actively drowning, something happens to your body. Your throat actually closes. There's a protection against drowning in your throat. So you can't actually scream when you're drowning. This is why drowning is they call it a silent killer. But the purpose of that is to stop you from swallowing water. However, However, I exchanged swallowing water and air, the air I had, for a slight help me. So there was a moment where the wave had came crashing down and I touched the floor with my feet and I jumped. And it was just enough to kind of shout, lose the air that I had, and get tumbled back under. When I was tumbled back under in this moment, I remember thinking I had no air left and I had to find a way to get air again. So even though there was no air in my body, I bit my mouth so that I wouldn't, because the instinct, you're underwater 3 minutes, your instinct is going to force you to swallow water. This is why you drown, because there's like a backup system in your body that needs air. Okay. So I bit my mouth to ensure that that wouldn't happen. And I felt everything started to go gray and everything was just spinning me. And then I heard that calm voice again and it said, float. It said, float. So I'm in the salty ocean. I open my eyes underwater. And then the wave came in a way where it made a circle around me. Like when you watch those videos of surfer dudes with their cameras under the wave, surfing the wave, but they're under the wave and the wave is closing in. The wave did that, whatever that's called. And I could see the light from underwater through that circle wave. And I jumped, jumped, and it was enough to get a breath. It was enough to fill my lung, even if it was a second and a half. I opened my mouth as big as I could and just took what I could. In that moment, some water still came in, but it was enough where on the next way down, on the next tumble down, that when I heard that word float, at this point, I'm not fighting, I'm not swimming, I'm doing nothing. When I heard that word float and I grabbed that pocket of breath, the wave throwing you down makes you kind of like want to crunch. So I forced myself, being beaten, to open my chest like this and extend my arms. And I put myself like this under the water. And that was enough buoyancy that the water had lifted me up above the wave. And when I got there, I was up there for maybe 2 seconds. But when I had got there, I was floating for 2 seconds. And that was enough to get another big gulp of air. And a help came out. And then slammed once more. But this slam, I had so much air in me that this is what it felt like in the next moment. I don't know what it looked like. But in the distance, I saw a couple, a man and a woman with 2 small kids, just walking, and then they're looking in my direction. And there was like no water on the beach. Everything was just stuck in that riptide, that wave part. It was like everything was just sucked into like a little area and no water on the beach. It was so weird. And it felt like the ocean was done with me. It picked me up. And when I'm telling you, if you've seen Moana, it like the wave like throws the thing at Moana. It really felt like the ocean picked me up and threw me out of itself. And what I mean like threw me out itself, I mean like it picked me up and I don't know how much height I had on this wave, but it wasn't like the water came, lulled me towards the shore, and then like it disappeared. I mean like it picked me up and body slammed me. Like it hurt. Like it body slammed me face first out of itself onto the sand. And all I could think of was I got scared that it was going to come back and rip me back. So I shouted for the people at the shore who were looking at me kind of confused because there's no water next to me. The waves are back there in one little secluded area. I don't even, if that's, there's probably a word for that. And the man just kind of like gingerly walked, like the most casual walk in the world, and just kind of just looked at me like said, "Are you okay?" With no concern that the wave was going to come back and grab either one of us because the water got pulled back that far. That's how far. I grabbed his hand he had gave me like 2 fingers, and I grabbed it like with as much strength as I could, and I just walked stumbling alongside him because I had no energy. I had no strength in my muscles left. And I know he let me go halfway through, kind of like he felt like it was awkward, but I had no energy left, and it must have looked awkward from where they were with no water. I get to the edge of the water, and by that I mean like the sand is no longer wet. And I'm coughing up water. There's water coming out of me. And they're asking me what happened. And there's this like burning sensation inside of my throat, in my ears. There's a burning in my body, which I learned is part of the drowning experience. There was so much fire inside of me that it would like talking was like razor blades, or like eating embers, like speaking with embers in your mouth. So I get in the car, and we have a few minutes. I'm going to very quickly show you guys what happens when I figure out what happened. Legitimately drowned. Lucky for me, I could hold my breath for a minute and a half. What happened was I was at the shore and this riptide came in all of a sudden. The water was barely up to my shins. And a riptide came in and yanked me. And I got stuck in a tumble for a long period of time. I don't know what's long, but I got stuck in a tumble for a long period of time. And in between, I would just try to catch my breath. And there was one that was a little bit long enough for me to shout, but no one saw me. No one heard me. And then I just heard float. So I just, whatever
in
breath
1/4
I
of a
could
mile,
take,
turn right onto Sea Island Parkway.
whatever breath I could take, I took the biggest breath possible, lifting myself up to be more buoyant, and then I tumbled enough into the shore where I could walk out finally. Fuck. I'm driving 7 miles back to the hotel at this point. Note to self. Yeah, not going in the beach again by myself. Into water. I tilted my head. That's water. And I've driven already like 6 miles. And water started gushing out of my lungs through my nose. So that's actually water coming out. And this is hours later. If I squeeze myself, I squeeze my stomach, then water comes out of my nose. And so this was my experience in the South Carolina beach. I am okay recovering, but a PSA to anybody out there, there is something called dry drowning. So just because you are out of the water, you will still continue to drown hours later, and it's imperative that you get to the emergency room. However, I'm going to leave this story here, and you guys already know. Let's wrap this up with my final thoughts because I have some. Con mucho amor. Do you or someone you know experience something supernatural that has left a positive impact on yourself or the lives of others? Want to share your story on our show? Please email Divine Encounters at e360tv.com, and together, let's create divine experiences. And now, the Oracle's final thoughts con mucho amor. Know that who you are speaking to when you're speaking to elements are live things. They're neutral. I asked to kill who I was, to have a radical beginning. Some of you may see that as coincidence. Some of you may see that as stupidity, going into the water alone. And some of you may see that as being touched by the spirit of the ocean and having my prayers fulfilled. Be careful what you're asking for, because you just might get it. Now go forward and encounter more. I dare you. And above all else, may you all go in love, light, and wisdom to know thyself. Love thyself. And remember, the divine always has your back. Tune in Sunday. I'll be doing all of your horoscopes live, and make sure you stay here on E360. I'm about to jump onto the whole living show, and we're going to talk all things Radical Press. Thanks so much for being here. I'm glad I'm alive to see this, and looking forward to who I'm becoming. Until next Wednesday, or actually until next Sunday, until Sunday, I'll see you guys then. Ciao.
Everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels lemons, just hold on. Just hold on.